you were a part of the Bones Brigade, like early 80s through 80. What year did you get sponsored by Powell?
God, I don't know. I to me, it always seems like
84-ish? 1973.
1973.
Okay.
The wheel was just kind of a your thing.
The wheel was still rocks.
Yeah, they decided to go faster if you go downhill. That's when I remember skating. Sorry.
But we're looking like 83, 84.
80, probably 85 is maybe when I got sponsored.
Okay.
85, 86.
Okay.
I stayed at amateur I tried to do it a little longer, than... when you started entering contests, I was trying to do kind of what Jeff Grosso and a couple guys did. It seems like they stayed amateur longer. They could have done it a year earlier, but they did well in all these contests because contests were such a big thing back then. Mm. And then they flip over when they turned pro. They were just like they didn't miss a step, without paying.
So like back then, you would basically would you turn yourself pro? Because there's stories like skaters would come on here and they just enter the pro contest.
Oh yeah,
and then they were pro.
I guess you could, if you paid for it, you would.
Right.
Who were you riding for?
Yeah.
No, I mean that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
But were you just doing amateur contests?
Yeah.
Okay.
But why not?
Yeah.
Why not go pro? Because like if you're in the pro contest, there's money involved.
Yeah, but back then it was a lot cooler back then because when you went pro, you stayed pro.
Yeah.
And I remember like some of the combi contests, like I don't know, maybe 5-7 years ago, when they started having amateurs entering pro contests, and I remember talking to guys like Omar or Bucky, and they were still battling out with the new guys, and all these younger guys were allowing them to actually skate with the pros, possibly win money, but they were still entering amateur contests. And I was like, no, back then when you went pro, it was a big thing. To get a board was a big thing,
right.
To enter a contest and start placing and doing whatever. But you could, once you turn pro, you couldn't go back to AMs.
No.
Yeah. That was, and no. I'd like to think that would kind of go back to that.
Did anybody do that? Did anybody go from pro back to AM? I mean, it was either switching companies or anything?
Nobody that was with any of the big companies.
It's kind of almost a pride thing as well, too, right? Like you are now on this level, you can't go back down. You can't be entering AM contests, right?
Yeah. That was kind of the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you want to be, back then it was like, do well with the pro contest and then get a board with one of the majors,
right? And so you were saying you were AM for what 3 or 4 years before you turned pro.
Well, yeah. There was I remember I just did this podcast thing with the Bones Brigade video guys. They were doing these, like, let's look over all the videos. And we did the thing on Savannah Slamma with Tim Malin's thing. And I remember them taking me out to the contest, and they were like, hey, do you want to turn pro at this contest? You're doing well. Stacy told me that, and Brian Ridgway told me that, my old team manager tracker. And they're like, you want to go pro? And I was like, Powell's notorious for, like, they'll turn people pro, but if you don't have your worked out if you're going to get a board or not, I could be sitting there in limbo without ever getting a board. I go, there's way more to talk about than just jumping on this now.
Oh, so they would turn you pro, but then they would hold off on the board. So now you're just entering pro contests.
Yeah, there were some guys. I think like Adrian DeMay. I don't know if that's how it worked out for him when he went pro, and he was just floating around, not really getting a board for a while.
But he was just skating the pro contests.
Yeah, he started skating pro contests. I think he skated pro contests for Powell. He started to, but with Adrian. The thing is with him, he was a vert guy, and at the time, Powell had the best vert team. It's like I remember talking to Stacy. Go, why don't we hook up Jeff Phillips or Chris Miller? Get those guys on. Let's just that would be insane. He's like, no, we don't want to just have everybody on the team. It wouldn't be good for skateboarding.
You want the dream team? Huh?
Yeah. You can't. They already had enough of the guys that were placing the top 3, the top 5 all the time. So you want like that going on. So I was like, okay, cool. Well. So with me, I waited a while. So I was like, I want to do well. And it wasn't until the 3rd Savannah Slamma that's when I went pro. That was my first street contest. With I think it was Barbie was in that too. Yeah, we turned pro at the same time.
Where is that like button? Right? Is it right here or right here?
Just a little scroll coming down the bottom.
It's
subscribe
over to it's on your
it's on my
left.
Right? It's
no,
on
your left.
Hey,
yeah,
hit that button right there.
Right there.
Right there.
Yeah, please.
The like button's kind of like in the middle there. It's like we're kind of like
it's like right here?
Kind of.
Like right
The
there?
subscribe's like over to the left.
It's like right over there. All right.